We are speaking to two of the speakers, but also organizers of the Hamilton District's Masonicon 2024. We're going to talk about what that is, um, why Masons should attend it, what it's like bringing really the first Masonicon to Ontario. And yeah, so we have got with us Right Worshipful Brother Nicholas Laine and Worshipful Brother Matthew Maennling. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much. Appreciate being here too.
Yeah, sounds like a great day.
We got a Right Worshipful. We got a Worshipful. I know how busy you guys are, how busy it is to be both of those ranks, combined with all of your, your Masonic duties, you have your personal duties. And on top of that, you guys have decided to organize a Masonicon coming up pretty soon. So my first question to either one of you is, are you guys suckers for punishment? I mean, what was the thinking behind taking the time to organize, an undertaking of this magnitude?
So I'll start off, and then Matthew can then correct me when I'm wrong. How's that? So I think yes, we're a sucker for punishment. I mean, this year and the day that we're putting together has probably been about 3 years in its thoughts. My role here in the Hamilton District A, as you said, is I'm the Right Worshipful Brother. I'm the District Deputy Grand Master of Hamilton A. I've attended a lot of Masonicons in the United States. The first one I attended was Ezekiel Bates in 2019. A couple of us drove out from Southern Ontario, and we went to the kind of the inaugural one with the guys there. From there, we've a bunch of us have attended Esotericon in Manassas. I spoke at the first Masonicon in Kansas. We've also assisted with refracted light and a couple of other components. So a bunch of us here kind of know that ecosystem well. And when I started my planning as a district deputy, I reached out to a good friend of mine who's here with us today. And I said, Brother Matt, let's do one here. Let's make it different than what you see today as a day of masonry. Not to say that days of masonry throughout Ontario aren't a great thing. I said, how can we go from good to great? And that's one of the things we've been doing in our lodge together as two Masons in Burlington Reunion Lodge here in our district. So we said, look, what can we do? So that was the impetus. And then we said, okay, how do we make a story arc? What do we want to talk about? How do we take that into my theme as a district deputy? So my theme is enlightenment. How do we help our lodges become enlighteneers? How do we give light to the new members and maybe the old members? I mean, as we come out of COVID, there's this whole thirst for knowledge and knowledge coming from many of our members, attracting new ones, retaining old ones, and reinvigorating the ones that are here. So that was kind of the whole intent of why we wanted to do something a little different. And like I said, being a person who's been to Masonicons, I really thought that it would be a good thing to do for us. And as the district deputy, I said, hey, let's go do it. And found some nice guys and said, what do you think? So that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, I'll just
Matthew,
build on Nicholas's point. The Masonicon implies you have a little latitude to explore topics in ways that maybe the more formal, day of masonry may not be able to get to. I come from being very heavily persuaded by the Masonic Restoration Foundation work of Andrew Hammer and his associates, and having come back from an amazing event in Detroit, was really influenced by really, how do we change the Mason? How do we change the lodge? And how do we change the craft? If you look at the three sort of locus of control, looking at enlightenment, the individual goes from the uninitiated to the initiated. When we have members presenting papers or presenting a scholarly work or, providing their members an experience that will move them, that's how we take those Masons and really engage them and move them to enlightenment. Following that, then, if you look at the unit of the lodge, there's lots of things, a chamber of reflection, the impacts of sight, sound, smell, hearing, And also, we're very interested at the lodge level in the formative experience of the 3 traditional observance lodges in Ontario. So what better way to dig into those topics of making the men better and making the lodge better, and by hearing from Most Worshipful Brother Hagaboom, our Grand Master in Ontario, facilitate a session with the 3 observant lodges and dig into that so that we can have a dialogue about, well, what did you do? What was your inspiration for making, an observant lodge, and how's it going today? And then finally, really looking up to the craft in general. How do we tie this all together in a motivational way? We've got an excellent speaker, Jack Harley, who's coming up from the United States in Pennsylvania. He's going to give a presentation that will tie it all nicely together in the arc of time. And what better way to cap off a day than having the Grand Master provide a keynote address? So we're excited. I think it's going to be a great day.
You've also got, I'm not going to go through the whole list of speakers. I'm going to leave a link, though, in the description of this video. You also got Matt Parker coming down. He's actually been on the podcast before. Very cool brother from North Carolina. You got a lot of great speakers. And really, I think before we go any further, I should say May 4th, Royal Botanical Gardens in Burlington. You should probably get the date and the time out there. What have ticket sales been like so far? How many are left? I've heard a lot of interest, at least in my circles, and online. So certainly the word is getting out there. I'm guessing it's going to be a very well attended event. What's it like on your side, on your end?
Sure thing. Yeah, Nicholas, I'll do you the grace of giving a bit of housekeeping. So it's at the Royal Botanical Gardens, the Rock Garden location. So this is famous because it's got a mindfulness walk. And to address your question, we've got about 1/3 of the tickets sold. And I think this is a traditional Masonic event where the people's intentions haven't matched the click-through yet. And so as days go by, we see people registering. We're confident that we're going to pack the room. It's capped at 110, so people are going to need to act pretty quickly because we're over 40 today. And I've got at least 15 who just need to hit the register button. So that location is going to be terrific. And I think just the venue alone is going to leave people with an impact, and a very impressionable one. Sorry, Nicholas.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Matthew. I think we've done a couple things specifically, Cameron, for all the people are thinking, but why should I go? Well, you're going to get great speakers, right? As you said, between both Matt Parker and Jack Harley. We've tried to make the discussion and how that bringing good men to find form and what we can do for the lodge exquisitely. The mindful walk will be helpful. And just the experience of going to Masonicon is different. Getting to sit there with kindred spirits, doesn't matter where you're from on your Masonic journey. And I think that's the biggest thing that you're going to find. And as you go to a Masonicon, at the first one in Canada, I think it will be a difference, and you'll want to be there to say, I was there, right? I experienced that. When we look at Matt Parker, Matt and I were just together in Calgary. He was there for a Weekend Without Titles with Joe Martinez. And what you're going to find is a different experience, right? We've been to some of the days of Masonry, and I think this will definitely be something you want to do. And as Matthew said, we're really wanting people to hit the click button. It's on Eventbrite. If back to how do you get the tickets? Well, you go to Eventbrite and you search Masonicon 2024, and it's that easy, right? Or you go to www.ontariomasonicon.com and you find why it's there. What does it mean to me? What are the speakers? Who the speakers are? We've done quite a good job of trying to do the branding properly, and really help the enthusiastic Mason go to a different type of event. Right?
There's the idea that sometimes an event, you need to look into the mirror and see yourself reflected back. I should mention also that we've got some local speakers, including Worshipful Brother Istvan Horvath and Brother Mark Keycoat, who are presenting as well alongside these internationally renowned speakers. So it's a balance between those sort of marquee speakers and folks who are in the quarries locally doing great work. And so it's a happy experience to be at an exciting venue with marquee speakers, but also seeing your colleagues speak as well. And not content with one most worshipful sir, one of the observant lodges will be represented by most worshipful brother David Cameron, right worshipful brother Victor Tavares, and right worshipful brother Gadke from the other observant lodge. So it's exciting to even have that depth of experience on the panels. I should mention also that to delight the senses, we've got some music lined up in between sessions that will center the mind and give people an opportunity to sort of have their shoulders drop and enjoy the day, but also take a pause in between sessions to reflect. My hope, if we're successful, is people come away energized. Right Worshipful Brother Nicholas Laine is a very energetic individual, and always presents a vision that gets people excited. I'm happy to do my small part, but I hope people come away from the event really energized and wanting to make a difference in their lodge.
Before we talk about the, I guess, intended audience for this event, right, which is always something that I think a lot of Masons struggle with. You know, if you're an entered apprentice, should I go? I think that that's something I do want to touch on. But before I touch on that, you know, Masonicon is partnered with the Royal Botanical Gardens. You have brothers coming in from, we taught, you know, from North Carolina. You have speakers coming in. I want to know what's that been like for you, the partnership with the community and with the Royal Botanical Gardens and reaching out to work within the community to kind of, right? It's that idea of mutual support, right? You're supporting the Botanical Gardens, they're supporting back. What's that relationship been like? And just in general, working with the community. I mean, I'm assuming you've had to work with some hotels and things of that nature. So what's that been like for you?
Yeah, good question. The Royal Botanical Gardens have been accommodating from the perspective that they recognize we're not for profit. This is not a a corporate event, and so they've been very flexible about ensuring that we have the right multimedia support, right connectivity, and also giving us tips about what local restaurants are nearby and what opportunities for parking, which is just right across the street. So I'd say they've been really accommodating and approaching this less from, what can we get from this group by way of revenue, and really thinking more, how can they be great partners in this event? I'll let Nicholas talk to the accommodation side, because we do have so many people who are driving distance to this event that for the most part, people will come for the day. But Nicholas has some VIPs coming in for hotels as well.
Yeah, and I think again, it's nice to be able to host it in our own backyard. So, when we're talking about hotels, it's mostly, as you said, we have probably, maybe less than 10 people staying in a hotel today, and we're reaching out to a couple of the hotel peers if they have any people have any questions, if they want to have that and they're looking for some group rates, if they contact me. And our information is on the website, they can definitely work towards that. We're not seeing a lot of asks for that. We have, interesting enough, our website went out and we had a person who's driving his daughter to go to University of McMaster University. And he's like, hey, I'm coming from Nova Scotia. Can I come? I'm like, sure. Yeah, no problem. So it kind of goes back to how well are we, what's our breadth and depth? Well, people, when they go to Eventbrite or things, when they're bringing their kids here to school or whatever, they're more than welcome. So back to your hotel question, yes, we're working with a couple local ones. We don't have a lot of people, as Matt said, coming right now that they're telling us, hey, I need a hotel. Generally, we're leaving that up to the individual. We have some, obviously, ones that we like, but I mean, I don't want to talk out of turn without having a bigger request, but hopefully, Cameron, that's answered your question.
Well,
Yeah, it's also
yeah.
open to all ranks. It should be mentioned as well. This is not exclusive to Master Masons. It would be suitable for EAs as well.
Well, yeah, and that was the next topic I wanted to get into, right? Was the intended audience, and I know that it's I've seen the Q&A on the Eventbrite page. I'm going to leave links to all this jazz in the description. So anybody watching this, if you want to go, you can go, right. It's not from an intended audience perspective, right? It's not a tiled event.
Nope.
So I understand, right, that there's nothing, no secrets will be revealed. There's not going to be ritual, anything that requires, being tiled. The Eventbrite page does make sure to mention specifically that EAs and, any rank is welcome, from entered apprentice to district deputy to grandmaster, past grandmaster. They're all going to be there, I'm sure. But also, members of the public, especially potential candidates or applicants or people who are talking about and interested in joining Masonry, they may also find something worthwhile in Masonicon. And I do know, a lot of our Grand Lodge, but most Grand Lodges are really encouraging lodges to be more social and active with their applicants and bring them to refreshment nights and barbecues. So I was even thinking, this might be a really interesting opportunity for a lodge to bring out an applicant or a candidate, to learn a little bit about the craft and get to know him before, even maybe perhaps before his initiation, but certainly as he's moving through the degrees. So yeah, from your perspective, what is as organizers, as speakers, who are you hoping to see there? Who is your intended audience? And what are you hoping that they get from it? I'll let
So we're both looking at each
anyone
other
who
to
wants
go
to go
talk.
first.
Yeah,
So
no,
I'll go first.
Nicholas should go first. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at the concept that we're trying to do, I'm going to 100% agree with you. As a community in our district and as district deputy, I think it's really important that we get that sense of belonging early on and connectivity to the men who want to become Masons. So if you look at our day, it doesn't preclude the fact that if Cameron, you have a man in your lodge who's looking to affiliate or to join our lodge, to be a candidate, then I don't see that being an issue. In fact, we want more of those people here because they will then hopefully power the rest of the lodge, your community, and others in their community to say, Masonry, they're not that secretive society. They're a bunch of good men, and here's an event where you can shine and show them all the positive characteristics of who we are and what we want to become. So I would agree with you. If you look the way we wrote our website, it said anybody's open, right? Any man who wants to come, please come and register with us. Some will get more out of it because as we all know, depending on where you are in your journey, and it doesn't, but that goes back to, can an apprentice come? Can a fellow craft come? Can a master mason come? Can a DDGM come? Can a past grand master come? Of course they can. And when they're there, the happiness of the communications, the discussions you'll have, and the people that you will meet will make that day much more special. And it doesn't matter where we come from or what rank we hold. The rank we hold does not necessarily make us better Masons. In fact, I would say to you, that is not. I mean, we all do different roles. As a role of a district deputy or the role of the Grand Master, we have roles what we apply within the craft. That does not pertain to how well we as Masons learn and how we share.
Yeah, I'd like to build.
This is all about sharing.
Yeah, which is to say that we've really tried with intent to build sessions to give, if somebody's attending because they want to be a more reflective Mason or they want to meet people, there's opportunities for that individual to join a community and grow for a day. We really do also hope that those 3 to 5 people who seem to do the yeoman's work in a lodge, that they come away from it refreshed and thinking, hey, I've got some ideas that I can take back to the lodge and maybe run with. Simple ways to maybe drive improvement or engage the membership a little more effectively. And then we do have some pretty senior folks attending as well. So if their sort of level of control and influence is craft wide, terrific. I think that they're going to have sidebar conversations over a coffee, over a mindfulness walk that might adopt some change, whether it's in Ontario or outside the country. So I think there's something in it for everyone, and it'll be a delight no matter what rank you come from, for sure. I agree with Nicholas on that.
What was and I know you touched on this a little bit at the start, but the thought process behind making this a Masonicon, right? Because we've had Day of Masonry, we've had days of Masonry in different districts, right? We've had there's a lot of different events that take place under different titles, right? Masonicon is really, especially with its work in the States, if you want to include Esotericon, right? They have kind of become their own thing, well known within Masonic circles. So what was the thought process behind going the quote unquote Masonicon route as opposed to, say, a day of Masonry or an open house? What was it about Masonicon particularly? Maybe, Right Worship Brother Nicholas, through your travels, maybe at Masonicons, what was it about that particular concept that made you want to bring it to, for the first time ever, right, Ontario, for the first time to my knowledge in Canada, right, the Masonicon approach?
So I think you touched upon it. There's two things, right? So if you think about it from 2019 to 2024, we've had, and there was some bumps in the middle because we went from Masonicons in person, and a couple of years we had some virtual ones because we couldn't get out. But look at the whole precipice of the idea. So there's a thirst for an organization or some sort of a conference that's a little different, right, than your average, as you said, meetings, open house. And there was an approach given, and it's been replicated across the United States, right? So we talked about it, starting in Massachusetts. There's been one in RJ's done one, and Robert Johnson's done one in Detroit. We've had them in Texas and California. So all the major populaces of the United States had this rinse and repeat of a Masonicon. And being a traveled Mason and attending a bunch of them with lots of good friends. I mean, I'll give a shout out. How did this start? Why did I come from this angle? Well, 2015, 2016, I was the worshipful master of a virtual lodge out of Manitoba. And I got to meet a bunch of these men because in 2014, 2015, as a virtual lodge in Manitoba started, I then started to reach out to podcasters, right? Masonic Roundtable, Masonic Light guys, Historical Light. Strangely enough, all of those people are the same people who started Masonicons. So there's an ecosystem of men. And I got to know those men, being the guy from a Manitoba lodge, sitting in Ontario. But that's just another complicated version of life. But just know that I'm originally a Manitoba Mason, and I came to Ontario many years ago. So I sit there as a member of this group, seeing these activities go. As they start to unfold and become the first Masonicon, I get interested. I start attending them. I've been to a bunch. I went, we need to do this in Canada. As the district deputy, I'm like, I got the right year. Because then I wanted to do it a different year. And I thought, no, let's do it this year. Let's do it. You asked at the earlier part of the meeting, are we crazy? The answer is yes. Because if you're really bored and you want to not only go to Masonicon, you can go to our Hops for Hospice event, which is on the same day as a fundraiser to a local charity here in Burlington, the Carpenter Hospice. But let's stay focused on Masonicon. Why did I do it? I felt there was a need. I felt there's a need in Canada to have our own version, right? It's not that far to go to, Esotericon is in June. I'll be going back to that one in Manassas, Virginia. But wouldn't it nice to have one here in our own back door? Wouldn't it be nice to have our American friends who are on the speaking circuit come see us and share with us and do it the Canadian way, right? I won't say this hasn't been easy. We've had to make some changes and work within the systems and parameters where we are bound to work within, and we're making it work. But the real idea was to try to bring that approach, the knowledge, and the sharing of experiences that people could see at a Masonicon in other locations into here into Southern Ontario, right? And really bring us forth into that. So that hopefully answers your question, Cameron.
What are you hoping that, or actually, I was going to say, what are you hoping that people take away from this? But as you pointed out, as you both pointed out, right, a lot of that is going to be dependent on who's coming, what rank they are, where they are in their Masonic journey. So I'm going to switch it around a little bit. What are you hoping to get from Masonicon 2024? What are you most looking forward to in terms of attendance, in terms of the speakers? I mean, you have your own speech, you'll be making your own presentations, but what are you most looking forward to, and what do you plan to get out of Masonicon 2024? Start with Right Worshipful Brother, and then we'll go on to the Worshipful Brother.
That's a good question. I knew you were going to ask that. What I want to see is I want to be able to walk around the perimeter of the conference and feel a sense of a buzz of something that those people have never had before. So if we talk about a chamber of reflection, Matthew hit upon it earlier. I'm going to try to be careful not to take all the things that Matthew wants to get out of it too. So for me, it's really introducing people to be able to want to seek new light and knowledge, to understand that there are people out there that are not that far away that they can tap, of the Jack Harleys and the Matt Parkers, and more importantly, our local people. Like, wouldn't it be great that, Mark, who's going to do some work, is called by 5 lodges to say, I'd like to hear from you. We have the grand organist talking about music and masonry. To me, there's so many little aspects that, depending on who you are, maybe for the first time ever, you're going to have an opportunity to do some meditation in lodge. There are so many little things that I hope people will get out of this. They'll go, I never thought I could do that as a Mason. What do I want to get out of it? I want to see a bunch of smiling faces. And at the end of the day, I would like for people to come and say, hey, Right Worshipful, are we doing this next year, and when are we going to do it? That's what I want to see. I want to see enough enthusiasm to say what we did, the two of us, as concepts, and how we helped orchestrate this together, become successful. My happiness will be for someone to say, okay, this is really cool. When are you doing this next year? Matthew, hopefully I didn't take everything out that you wanted to say.
Oh no, you know what, this is the benefit of having, different individuals pulled together for an event, is you get different perspectives. I love the way you set me up just then, because really, in my own, experience of the event, I hope to have the hair on the back of my neck stand up a little bit and have that moment where, a person in the audience is having an aha moment, and they've just made a contact, whether it's, a well-ranked individual or another brother from a lodge they'd like to now go visit, to have those connections happen. But also, I want people to go away blown away by the venue, impressed by the quality of the speakers, and to have those key sort of learnings or insights that they can take away and take action in their own lodge, if they're mentoring another Mason who's younger, or if they feel like they can, even run for grand office one day, that they have the notion that they don't just need to follow the same pattern, that they maybe can, push the boundaries a little bit, not innovate, but really expand the horizon of the lodges and the folks around them. I think when people come away from this event, they're going to find new friends, and that at the end of the day, it's we endeavor to be happy ourselves and promote happiness in our brethren. So that's really the reward for me. I think Nicholas hit the nail on the head. If somebody says, let's do this again next year, mission accomplished.
Well, yeah, don't do too good a job, then it'll be stuck doing it every year. That's the Masonic lesson I've learned. Or even if you do a not so great job, you tend to do it again every year. But nonetheless, I think what you said, right? If people, I think one of the ways an event has been successful is if people want to come back next year, right? Or if potentially it may inspire others to put on a similar event, even in Canada, right? I mean, just because the first one is in Ontario doesn't mean the second one can't be in Vancouver or can't be in or wherever, Manitoba. I think that it's and that's kind of I think one of the wonderful things about when Masons put on events like this, right, is it can inspire other Masons to put on similar events, or it doesn't have to be a Masonicon per se, but to put on a conference of some kind or to try something else, right? So I'm certainly hoping, if nothing else, that Masonicon 2024 will inspire other Masonic lodges and Masonic bodies to look at putting on similar events, right? And I'm assuming, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I'm assuming if anybody were interested in doing so, that they would be able to contact you, perhaps through the website, through content information, to bounce some ideas off, learn both, what worked well for you guys, maybe what didn't work so well, and what you can change for next time, and get some ideas on how to run a Masonicon in their own backyard.
Yeah, I would say that we'll be good at that on May the 10th. Right after my last official visit, I need to get through May and into June and pop out at the end of July and then put the cuffs on some other nice guy. But yes,
yeah, it hasn't.
Myself, there's a bunch of things that will happen, and you're right. That would be my thoughts. I mean, I said to you earlier, Matt and Joe and I were together in Calgary, or actually in Red Deer. The Grand Lodge of Alberta has a weekend without titles. They've done it twice. So it's their version of Masonicon, but not branded as a Masonicon. It's really a Masonicon. They just didn't use the title, right? Weekend without titles. They did the same thing. It was an excellent weekend. Both of those speakers did that, and there were the same kind of thing. So it is occurring. It's just, we're you seeing it under different names and maybe not necessarily the same branding. And you asked earlier, why did I want the branding? And I felt it was important. I felt it was important to call it Masonicon because people know what that is, right? And you're right. Maybe we'll get more of them. And it's not hard. It is, but it isn't. You just need to find a really good friend and say, hey, I got a cool idea. Would you want to do this together? And he goes, yeah, we'll do that. And you're like, oh, okay. Then you find 10 other good friends, and it just, it's a snowball rolling down a hill.
Yeah, Nicholas, the idea that just the branding Masonicon liberates it from being an Ontario only event, right? And I was in Vancouver to see a friend of mine initiated into a lodge whose work I don't know myself. And it's humbling to go from being an expert in one body of work to being a novice in another and realize, wow, our experience in Ontario is pretty homogenous. We have one book of the work. It's done pretty uniformly across lodges. So Masonicon then as a brand means it could be in Quebec, it could be in Newfoundland and Labrador. And what a splendid time that would be. So yeah, Nicholas, I think, is hoping to set a spark here, and folks like me will enthusiastically support him with man and material to help make it happen. And we're really excited. It's coming up fast. It's only a month away.
Yeah, The countdown timer tells me every day when I go look at the website. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I know that feeling very well of counting down to a big event. So, um, and I know that it's going to go very, very well, right? Just based, if nothing else, based on the speakers that you guys have got. We mentioned a couple of them already. Ishvan Horvath is the last one on the podcast. Before you guys, he's the one who kind of reminded me of this event. I had seen it floating around social media, and he's going to do an excellent job, I have no doubt. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very excellent event. And I commend both of you for taking the time and the work to put on a Masonicon in Ontario, because I think that, again, I keep making it Ontario focused, but it's not, right? That's the whole point of the branding, right? This is not a Ontario Masons event. This is a Masonic event, and you're going to be welcoming brothers from, I've no doubt, all around, certainly North America, if nothing else. So, I commend both of you for taking the time and the effort to put this event on.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's nice to have you reach out to us. I mean, as we do this, it like I said, it's been a learning for us, and knowing how to do this within those pretexts. We've learned a lot.
Yeah, and I think events like this provide great opportunities for everybody to learn. Right? That's the beautiful part about it. You learn a lot, and then you can move on. You can learn some more. So, thank you so much. Hopefully, maybe I can have you guys back on the podcast after the event is done, after May 10th, after the official visits are done, to talk about how the event went and what you learned from it, and maybe give some advice to others who are looking at doing a similar type of event. I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys both so much for taking the time. One more time, May the 4th, 2024. It starts at 9, goes to 4:30. It's at the Royal Botanical Gardens, Rock Gardens, which is in, I keep saying Hamilton. Really, that's more Burlington, though, right? Yeah.
It's actually in Hamilton. It's just across the border from Burlington. Yeah.
Okay, so you can find it on Google Maps, but Royal Botanical Gardens.
www.ontariomasonicon.com. The maps location gives exactly the location as per Google, and for most of us, you would say it's in there. So yeah,
link is in the description. Tickets still available. They're going to go quick though, so make sure to get them. All right, thank you guys both so much. I really appreciate the time.
Thanks for hosting. Take care.
Thanks for the day. Have a good day, Cameron.